Hello and welcome to Notes on Film. My name is Chloé Peralta. This is day 4 of 10 in our series as we review the scores of this year's Oscar-nominated movies for Best Score and Best Picture. Today's film is Hamnet, directed by Chloé Zhao. The composer for Hamnet is Max Richter, who is having his first Academy Award nomination for score. He's worked on films in the past such as Ad Astra, the Brad Pitt vehicle where he went into space. However, he is most known for his composition of one of the, if not the most licensed songs of all time, called On the Nature of Daylight, which he released in 2003. As a matter of fact, he even uses it in this score to highlight the emotional center of the film. He's also known for writing one of the longest pieces of music ever as an 8-hour piece entitled Sleep. Now that we know the composer a little bit, let's dive into the movie for a little bit of context. The film dramatizes the story of William Shakespeare and his wife Anne as they experience the loss of their son Hamnet. It explores what it means to lose a child and the toll that it takes emotionally, physically, etc. on the parents and the family. Now, I went into this movie cold, not really knowing what to expect, and didn't really expect Jessie Buckley's character, Anne, to be the lead of the film. I thought, and so did everyone else apparently, because it's true, that she did a marvelous job carrying the film. Her acting was out of this world. The emotions that she felt, you could sense it through her fingers, through her face, through her body. All of the loss, you could sense it in her performance. And it's maybe even one of a kind. Now, while there's nothing to take away from her performance, I will say that a lot of the emotional beats throughout the film felt a little bit flat. Not in that there wasn't enough to clamp on or enough to identify with, but in the sense that there was too many points, let's put it that way, too many points at which I think the film wanted me to cry or to feel really, really bad. And the fact that there were so many meant that, and it was so ubiquitous, to me, it felt like it was just a little too much, and I couldn't focus on one and follow it enough until the next tragedy happened. So I don't feel like I had enough time to breathe, and therefore the emotional moments kind of came and went, and like I said, just kind of compounded to the point where maybe it's just me as a man. You just say, everything's going to hell in a handbasket, there's no point in crying now, ball up top, and just keep moving. Maybe that's just how it hit me. But like I said, I didn't feel like the movie sold, or rather all of the emotional beats, or AKA the points where it wanted me to cry or feel super duper bad for the characters on the screen. However, they do say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And the ending 100% hit me like a train. Maybe I experienced the film and processed all the emotions like William Shakespeare did, in that he put all of his work and all of his emotions into something, and his something was writing Hamlet and the play. And for me, it was kind of like not really knowing what to do with the emotions, and not, again, what I had mentioned before. But once it hit the end, then I saw him expressing it, William, through the play and him being a part of it, and all of the characters that, all of the actors within the movie who were playing actors. Then is when it hit me that, oh man, okay, I see what's going on here, and I am a wreck. Then it's kind of where it hit me. I felt like the movie was kind of looking at me, kind of like Anne was looking at Will, like, why aren't you feeling bad? Like, what is your problem? But at the end, once she saw how he was processing it, and her kind of like saying, hey, I see you and I respect the way that you're dealing with it, that's when I identified with the film, and that's when the emotions hit me like a truck. When he started feeling the emotions, or rather when we started seeing him experience the emotions, was when I started feeling and experiencing the emotions. So again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and the ending was absolutely perfect. I loved it, and it was the selling point of the film for me. If anybody said, will you watch it again? I would say, sure, let's just fast forward to the end, please. With the context set, let's now discuss the score in a little bit more depth, first discussing how it played within the film itself. But before I do, let me put on my Clark Kent glasses, although I probably should have put them on a little earlier, because as I say, if I have them on, I can have the excuse it was the other guy and it wasn't me. So let's do that. Like I mentioned before, where I felt like the movie was trying too hard to pull the emotion out of me, I thought that the score was in lockstep with that same premise. I thought it was trying too hard. In the trying too hard, I felt that it got to the level of generic. I felt like I had heard this before. I felt like if you were to put another Victorian era score here, it would have played equally as good, or equally as bad, or equally as mid, or equally as average. In other words, the score didn't do itself any favors in the film. Now, maybe it was just me, but I noticed a clear lack of a leitmotif, meaning that it didn't hurt the film, but it definitely did not help. So where I was already struggling connecting emotionally, the music did not help me get there. Whereas if one usually fails, the other one helps you. Or if even better, they work together and then give you an even bigger punch. Then in this case, neither of them worked and it felt kind of flat. Sad to say, but it did. I'll keep this part brief in just saying that the score itself wasn't bad. It was just there. It's not one you're going to remember. It's not one you're going to look up. It's not one you're going to put in the background when you're trying to write a book. It's just there, the end. But you might say, how did it play as a standalone album? It's been the case where sometimes it doesn't play as well in the film, but as a standalone album, it plays amazingly. In this case, I thought it played better, but not much better. Some of the notes I wrote down were that I heard notes of grief and loss, which is obvious. I was swallowed up by emotions in the beginning of the score. And near the end, near the very end, very end, I saw myself kind of in my feelings, wanting to love on somebody, which reflected the beginning part of the album. I also heard the shortness of life, the insufficiency of time in it, which is something that I didn't hear in the film, but I heard in the score itself, or in the standalone album, I should say. But overall, I heard just notes of grief, heartbreak, loss, which are apt for the movie. Overall, nothing different that I wouldn't write about or that I wouldn't point out or notice from another movie of this caliber too. Okay, now a quick point before I get to our last segment of the bangers that I saw or the standout ones in the film. This is something I probably should have done with my other reviews, but I guess I'll start now. It's kind of a little side quest, which is what did I think of or how were the names of the actual pieces in and of themselves? I know the naming of the actual songs is an art in and of itself. So what was this one like? Now, I like to think that Max took some inspiration from the line of Mice and Men and used that as a theme in naming a lot of the pieces here. For example, the first one here is called Of Agnes. Following is Of Morpheus. Further down, Of Earth and Heaven. All the ones that follow, which aren't sequential, are Of the Heart, Of Remembrance, Of the Sky, and then down at the bottom, number 15, Of a Ghost. I thought that was pretty cool. I wish he would have done it kind of straight down, but I'm not sure it was his choice alone to make. So there was that. Okay, now lastly, the segment on the standouts. For me, there was only a handful, and they were as follows. It was the very first song of Agnes. I heard that one was my favorite by far, or maybe it was the second one. Probably the first one. I think the first one really hooked me, which is where the huge disappointment came in later on. I heard tones of yearning. I heard longing. There was sort of a siren call in there that spoke to me. I was overcome with emotion more than once. I usually listen to these scores usually 3 or 4 times a piece, and for this one, I was overcome with emotion every single time. I liked the deep undertones on this one as well. That one was really good to me. The next one is the number 4 track. That one I heard a lot of siren calls again, and it feels like you were calling out for something, for someone, for love, for what? I couldn't find an answer. Again, this is just separate from the movie. And maybe there is no answer, and perhaps there isn't supposed to be an answer because it is a call for whatever it is that you're feeling or whatever it is that you're needing emotionally. So that's a really, 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 really good piece there. The next one is number 6, Of the Sky. That one, I heard the siren song. That's probably the only leitmotif that I found. The whole siren song here, or what sounded like a siren song to me. Um, there were tones of pain, loss. I felt empathy for, I don't know. I just felt a wave of empathy there. The notes, the deeper tones hit later on in the song, and it reminded me of the very first two of Orpheus, I'm sorry, that really were just perfect. That one was nice. Number 7 was a callback, and it's literally called the Richter on the Nature of Daylight. He reused it from his own 2003 use, and I thought that here it was a perfect use. And I know a lot of people in their reviews mentioned it as kind of like a cop out, but I don't think that was the case at all. I thought that it was perfect, and like I said, during the ending part was when it hit me the most. So maybe I'm a little biased because of that, but that one hit extremely hard. Lastly was number 8, called Of the Undiscovered Country. That one felt like an emotional close to me, like the ending of a chapter, and acceptance and moving on. It ended well, it started well, but the majority of it left me unmoved, unfortunately to say. So that's that. And so, with the critic part done, let me go ahead and give my final thoughts on what I thought of this score. And so, whereas an 8, 9, or 10 are the Hall of Fame, a 5, 6, or 7 are ranged from good to very good, this one gets a 4, also known as not memorable. This is not one I'm going to remember. I think it was, this is going to sound really bad, I'm sorry, I should have put the glasses back on. To have nominated this one for Best Score this year was a mistake. There were other worthy scores this year that could have had this spot, and unfortunately they didn't get it. So I think this was a huge swing and a miss by the Academy, and it did not deserve an award at all. Again, I know really harsh, but honestly, I do feel that is the truth. Now, with that said, I am looking forward to what Max Richter is going to do next, not because this one warranted another listen, but because I know he can do a lot better. I just know that he has it in him, and I want to see a return to form for him. That this one was just a swing and a miss, but I know he can do a lot better. If you disagreed with my take, I'd love to hear your thoughts why down below. You can also find me personally on Instagram at It's Attractive if you want to be a little bit more discreet. I'd be happy to take any of the smoke there too, as well as if you have any suggestions for any scores that you want me to cover. Thank you so much to all of you for tuning in. I will see you all tomorrow for day 5 of 10 as we cover this year's Academy Award nominees for Best Scores and for Best Picture. Tomorrow will be the last nominee for Best Score, which will be Frankenstein. I will see you all then. Thank you once again. Take care. Peace.